Morning, Mr. Chang here, pumping out transformation videos for y'all. All right, so we are going to hit 5 in iXL, 5 So this is what we're looking at. This is what we're working with. I've got 5 open up on my iXL. And again, just like always, I've got my transformation notes open right next to it. My advice to you is if you're working on a specific iXL skill, copy your notes directly into your notebook. A lot of you may not have a screen that's big enough to have 2 windows open, and you're going to need your notebook to write down and do the transformations of these coordinates and to keep everything straight. So write the rules down in your notebook. We're doing reflections. So we're flipping images across a y-axis, and we're going to flip images over the x-axis. And I've highlighted the rules here in yellow, pretty simple. If you reflect an image, a point, a shape across the x-axis, you flip the sign of the y-coordinate. And by flip the sign, I mean you turn a negative into a positive, and you turn a positive into a negative. And if you reflect across the y-axis, you flip the sign of the x-coordinate, do not touch y. You could put do not touch x up here and just change the notes for yourself. And if you look at the rules, if you reflect across the x-axis, you're only changing the y-coordinate, and you're flipping the sign. This negative y means you're flipping the sign. And if you're going across the y-axis, you're going to change the x, and the y stays the same. Those are your rules. That's what you're going to use. So let's take this. We're going to go, and the point L, 6, -1 is reflected over the x-axis. What are the coordinates of the resulting point? Let's take a look at our rule. Our rule says if we are flipping across the x-axis, we flip the sign of the y-coordinate. That is our rule. I'm going to put it right here, just so we see it right next to what we're doing. So we're at 6, -1. And my rule says if we're going to flip this across the x-axis, we are going to flip the sign of the y-coordinate. So instead of 6, -1, it becomes 6, +1. And that puts us right there. When you look at your notes, the algebraic notation is x minus y. And the reason why this minus here exists is that's telling you to change the sign. So if I had a negative number like -1, I'm doing a minus -1. And these two subtracting a negative changes that to a positive. And if this was a positive number, it would just be -1, and then you would be negative. So that's how you switch from a positive to a negative to a positive. So really simple. 5 is like the simplest iXL skill. You're really just looking at, if you're reflecting across the x-axis, you're going to flip the sign of the y-coordinate. And if you're flipping over the y-axis, you're going to flip the sign of the x-coordinate. That's all you're doing here. That rule should be pretty simple to remember. And you can see, as I put this point where it's supposed to, I'm going to put the coordinate in there. As I type these coordinates in, so 6, 1, remember it was -1, I'm just flipping the sign. There you go. So the point 6, -2 is being reflected over the y-axis. So I'm flipping it here. And remember, my rule is if I'm flipping across the y-axis, I flip the sign of the x-coordinate. I do not touch y. So let's put that rule right where we can see it. And my coordinate is 2, comma, -6. I like to just put the original coordinates in. I like to put the coordinates directly into the answer box and then apply the rule. So if I'm flipping across the y-axis, flip the sign of the x-coordinate. So I don't touch y, so y is -6, it stays the same. My x-coordinate is 2, so it becomes a -2, and I'm done. And let me just show you, this point is now -2, so here's -1, here's -2 on the x-axis, comma 6, comma -6, so I'm all the way down here at -6. So you can see how S prime is the mirror image of S just flipped over the y-axis, and it's still -6, right? Your y coordinate is still -6 because so this hasn't changed at all. No change here. Only thing that happened is that I flipped over the y-axis and my x-coordinate changed. And you can see it right on the screen. So I'm done. I'm gonna hit submit. And look at my smart score go up. Now, let's move forward to the next level. And now you see you're gonna start to get shapes, and you're gonna have multiple coordinates to do. So let's break this down really quick for you. If I look at the question, it says write the coordinates of the vertices after reflection across the x-axis. And I want to highlight a few things. The word vertices, this means corner. So each of these corners, C, D, B, and E, those are the vertices. We're going to reflect over the x-axis. This is telling you exactly what's going to happen. This whole box is going to switch over, flip across the red line. That is your axis of or line of reflection. They've written in the original coordinates for each of these points for you, which is great. It makes life a lot easier. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to copy in the original starting points in here. So just like they have it, I'm not going to do any work. I'm just going to copy these in. -2, 5. This is a pro tip, -2, 9. I haven't done the transformation yet. 2, 9, 2, 5. So I've just written those coordinates in. And you can see point B is at 2, 5. Or sorry, -2, 9. So that's 1, 2, -2 on the x, and then all the way up here, this is 9 on the y. So that's point B. Point C is -2, 9. Oh, I think I made a mistake there. That's -2, 5. B is -2, 5. Sorry. This is 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -2, 5. -2, 9. 2, 9. And the E is 2, 5. There are the 4 corners, the 4 vertices of your box. Now, my rule, I'm going to reflect over the x-axis. So I come over to my notes. I find my rule reflecting across the x-axis. I am flipping the sign of the y-coordinate, and my algebraic rule is that. X stays the same. You do not touch the X. All you're doing is putting a negative sign and flipping the sign of your Y coordinate. Just flip the sign of the Y coordinate. So I'm going to go in here And here are all my y coordinates, 5, 9, 9, and 5. And all of these just become negative, 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 negative. And I take every single point, every single vertices, and it's now -2, -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are all my new points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is -5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is -9. And so I am at -5, -2, -9, -2, -5, -2, -9, and +2. There's my new box getting flipped over the x-axis. There you go. That's how you do it. XUS, everybody should get a hundo in XUS. The easiest hundo you're going to get. I want all A's. Thank you for watching this video.